ain't saying she a gold digger.
As the economy continues to recover, you may have noticed your paycheck is struggling to keep up with rising costs. The prices you pay for everyday items were nearly 5.5% higher in July than a year ago. We're now seeing the biggest increases in 13 years. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here and joining us at the table. Jill, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you. So let's talk about what's driving this rise in inflation, and do you see it slowing down?
Well, what's driving it is, first of all, a comparison to a year ago when the economy was not fully opened up. And so obviously the comparison looks terrible, as you said, 5.4% higher. But beyond that, because that's a temporary situation, we still have supply chain issues that are really clogging up the system. And these bottlenecks do create price pressures. And of course, we, consumers, we are driving inflation. We've been pent up, sitting on more than $2 trillion of excess savings. We want to spend. And that consumer demand and spending is pushing prices up.
So where are people seeing the biggest price increases?
Well, it's unfortunately in the things that you touch every single day, right? So, right? It's food and energy. And economists always like to say, oh, no, let's look at the core inflation rate because that takes out food and energy. But food and energy are what we actually experience. So energy prices, anyone who's driven, up 40% from a year ago. But let's look back 2 years to 2019. Even when we look back 2 years, a 13% increase in your energy prices. And then on top of that, a 15% increase in the grocery store bills, especially for the proteins, right? So poultry and meat and fish and eggs. And then an 8.1% increase in dining out. So these things put together make people nuts. And some of it is going to be temporary, but the big question is whether it's going to last longer than economists believe.
1 million jobs added in July. How does that then infect or affect, would be the word most people use, inflation?
Well, it's interesting because in the last jobs report, it was a very robust report, okay? And wages were up pretty significantly year over year. But the thing is, because prices are up so much, it eats into those increases that we've seen in our paychecks. In fact, if you look at the inflation-adjusted effect on wages, people are down by 1.2% from a year ago, and that's why people are complaining now, like, oh my God, I don't feel like I can get ahead.
So can the government do something to curb inflation without also slowing down the economy?
So this is the job of the Federal Reserve, and in econo speak, it's called the dual mandate. It means they've got two big jobs. One job is to foster enough economic growth to get these more than 8 million people back on the job, right? So that's really important. But they've got to keep their eyes on prices, because with inflation, it can really be detrimental over the long term. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has said that the central bank is willing to let inflation run a bit hotter than it normally would because of this strange situation. So they'll probably act, but it's not now.
All right, and I shall pursue my dual mandate to both interview you and hit this commercial break. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
I appreciate it.